Jane McCall and the Twilight Stacks. Chapter 17. The Promise. Jane's senses came back in a rush, and she pulled away from the chair. It felt like she'd just run a marathon. Sweat was plastered to her forehead. The fire in her core was burning her up. She swayed and fell to one knee, unable to support her own weight. Half of her condition was physical and magical, but the other half was mental and emotional. The restored memories, while wonderful, felt horribly fresh, and they clawed open wounds which hadn't healed so much as been buried. Grief she hadn't understood she'd been feeling rose up in a wave to drown her, and she let out a keen like that of a wounded animal. It wasn't fair. She was a witch. She was one of the few who could have found her way back. She had found her way back. She loved the Stacks so much, and seeing it like this now, when she'd been lucky enough to get a miracle, it was horrible. She sobbed into her hands. Crying herself out took an embarrassingly long time. When she'd drained enough sorrow, she wiped the tears from her cheeks and stood up. Fresh eyes looked over the ruin of the Stacks, and her resolve solidified. "I'm going to save you, I swear," she vowed. The Stacks didn't reply, naturally. They needed a book for that, and the available ones weren't options. Jane checked the floor anyway, trying to find red and gold. The journal was a book which had the sole purpose of communication with the Stacks. If any way to talk remained, that was her best bet. Luck was on her side. It took a lot of fussing and moving damaged books, but when she knelt to look under the armchair, she saw a glint of tarnished gold. Retrieving the journal took contortion and earned her arm a few bruises, but she managed to drag it out from its hiding place. Up close, there was something off about it. At least, off compared to the other books. It was too clean, too whole. The gold was tarnished and the pages were yellowed, but they still felt like paper and the cover was intact. Maybe some lingering traces of Jane's unawakened magic had helped preserve it. It fell open to the last page Jane had written in, and she started to read it. The final exchange was still there and legible, though the ink had faded and a few of the letters had been rubbed out entirely. Jane picked up another book to compare, and what little she could read, well, she was pretty sure The Wonderful Wizard of Oz didn't have any words that unfit for polite company, or personal attacks on the reader's fashion senses and cowardice. Yikes. It seemed like the sickness ran deeper than physical symptoms. It was affecting the magic, too. This was a lot worse than she'd thought. She put the corrupted novel on the footstool and pulled out a pen. Writing in the journal was so familiar it hurt. "Hello, it's Jane. I'm back. How do I help you?" "Dear, welcome to Witchhood. Find my core." Every letter shook as they appeared on the page, and the writing took much longer than it had in the past. The ink was gray, not black. Most alarming, the pages of the journal changed from yellow to brown and became crackly. Jane, in a moment of panic, reached for her magic and shoved it into the book. "Heal!" she shouted. Bad idea. The fire under her skin blazed hot enough to sear. She cried out in pain. A concussive force blasted her hand away from the paper. She dropped the journal and curled up, gasping for breath. Her hand and scar were throbbing in time with her too fast heartbeat, and it hurt to breathe. When the pain had receded to a manageable level, she retrieved the journal. Its condition appeared slightly better. The tarnish was fainter, and the pages had gone back to yellowed. Still, it was hardly pristine. Jane flipped it open. "Stop!" was written right under the previous message. On the next page, a black and white illustration of a tiny girl standing on a massive barnacle-spotted cliff and pouring a bowl of water over the edge into a near-empty basin showed a pretty on-the-nose representation of what Jane had been doing. Okay. No trying that again. Not that she could. The fire in her belly had been replaced by a wavering candle. Too much magic use, and her supply was small to begin with. She pulled the mark back to its bracelet state with a quick word and considered the situation. "I have to treat the root, not just stabilize you," she realized. "I can't stabilize you. I don't have enough power. But if I find the core and bring it back, you'll get better?" "Yes." Hope and determination settled, even as her hand was still trembling with backlash. "Then that's all I need to know. Save your strength. I promise you I'll make this right." She owed the Stacks her life, after all. What kind of witch would she be if she didn't return the favor? Queries, kudos, or concerns? Like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.